What's up everyone? This is the Epson 5050 UB, and yes, even in 2024, people, including myself, are still buying these. So let's unbox this and set it up and see how it compares to my 4010, and in a future video, we're going to also compare this to the LS11000 to see which one is the better buy in 2024. Alright, so inside the box, you get your documentation here, and the projector is here. This is here to protect the front. The lenses should be closed, but it still helps out. Alright, so that's interesting. The lens is open here. This actually, same thing actually happened to my 4010 as well, where the lens was shipped open. I don't know if this is normal or not. Interestingly, the side panel is also open here, but I guess we'll see how this is. I'm looking at the lens and it looks like it's new. I'm assuming that's just how they ship, I guess, because this is the second projector I bought where it's like that. This looks pretty much identical to my 4010, but this has the ultra black, so we'll see how that is. All right, so to show you the room, this is my projector up there, and that's an 85-inch TV to show you the size difference. And we basically watch it from here, so what you're seeing is normally what we see. As you can see, there is ambient light over there. That's my cat. And there is ambient light over there. And of course, like over here, there's more ambient lighting as well. So the real question here is, how good is this compared to my 4010 during ambient lighting? But we're also going to test this at night with all the blinds closed and stuff, and we're also going to compare it to a TV. Now, we're also going to go over to my old place where the walls were painted brown. These are white. And we're going to see if there's a huge contrast difference. So let's get started. All right, so in order to make this easy to compare the projectors, I have a second HDMI cable down here that I'm running to the receiver. This one has one that goes to the roof already. So looking back here, there are two HDMI ports, and these support HDMI 2.0, the full spec. The 4010, unfortunately, is not 18 gigabits per second, it's 10.2. So one of the reasons I want to get a new projector is to get rid of that limitation, because I have multiple devices that need 444 4K 60 Hz, such as my Retro Tink, and I want to see if the PC looks sharper on the 5050 versus the 4010. And of course, once the LS11000 shows up, that'll be the ultimate test. So I am going to push this portion of the sectional back so that both projectors are roughly the same distance to make this comparison fair. And we're going to compare against the TV and then on the projectors itself. All right, let's start off with the PC, because this is a thing that I'm really interested in. Does the Epson projector, the 5050, look better than the 4010 thanks to its 4K 60 Hz 444 chroma versus my 420 chroma? Now, one of my favorite features on these Epsons is lens shift. As you can see, there's the lens shift. All right, so one thing I want to show y'all, this is the natural picture mode. And if you wanted to make the picture even brighter, you would just change the color mode. So here, if we go to dynamic, as you can see, it's much brighter than before. Now, one problem with this projector, and one of the reasons I want to get the LS11000, is when you turn on HDR, it turns on the color filter, which reduces the brightness by 50%. So as you can see, it's a lot more dim in HDR mode compared to what it was before. As you can see, power consumption's high, and it's in dynamic mode. Even do natural, I think. Yeah, see, so with HDR on, this is natural. And then if we turn off HDR, this is with HDR off. It's much brighter. So this is one of the reasons why I'm gonna go with the LS11000 personally. But I did want to compare them, and this is one of the things. This and sharpness. Now, one thing I will say is sharpness is definitely sharper. The text is definitely sharper than my 4010. However, even though it is sharper than the 4010, it's still nowhere near as sharp as the TV's text. And this is most likely because this is doing 2 times pixel shifting. So this is one of the things I want to see on the LS11000, is because it does 4-way pixel shifting, I want to see if it makes a significant difference on the sharpness, because if you're using the PC, you want it to be as sharp as possible. Now, the black levels are supposed to be much better on the 5050 UB. So we're going to compare the black levels once it becomes dark, and we're going to see if there is a difference in this room. And if not, we're going to move this projector to a different place where, like I said, the walls are painted brown and it's more darker, and see how much of a contrast difference we can see. Now, one thing I wanted to test is there was an update last year where people are claiming that it can do 3 times pixel shifting at 24 hertz. So I'm just going to go ahead and change this to 24 hertz, and we're going to see if that's true. I'm going to see if it becomes sharper, the text. All right, so now we're at 24 hertz. Let's see. That's actually very interesting. Does actually seem a bit sharper at 24 hertz versus 60. So maybe there is some truth to that claim. I'm going to go back to 60, and y'all tell me if y'all can see a difference between 24 and 60. Try to capture this on camera. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit sharper at 24 hertz. That is very interesting. Obviously, you're not going to use your PC at 24 hertz because that would be horrible. The LS11000 can do 120 hertz, so you can see why it's a tough decision between these two. All right, I know it's a little hard to see because the middle, the images overlap. But if you look at the left side and the right side is my 4010 and the left side is the 5050 UB. Now this is playing Donkey Kong 64 and the N64 hooked up through my RetroTink. And as you can see, the colors, what's interesting is even with the ambient light, you can see how much more washed out my 4010 looks compared to the 5050 on the left side. If you look at the part where the cave is behind DK, even the colors. Now, keeping in mind these are both in natural mode with medium power consumption and high-speed iris, and I'm already pretty impressed. I'm kind of excited to see how this is going to look at nighttime now. All right, here we have natural mode. So earlier it was actually dynamic. Even in natural mode, you can see that the 5050 is brighter and the image just pops a bit more, at least to my eyes. Hopefully it's being captured pretty well on this. All right, so it's finally nighttime. So I'm gonna turn off all the lights, and now we'll see if there's a big advantage or not to the 5050 UB versus my 4010. All right, here you can see both projectors at night, so ignore the middle part, but the left side is the 5050 and the right side is the 4010. So keep in mind, this is not even a 1080p signal. We'll actually look at a movie after this, but this gives you an idea how low res content looks on both projectors. Alright, as you can see, this is how the Windows desktop looks. It runs at 4K 60 Hz, but with 420 chroma sampling. So resolution wise, if we come up a little closer here, as you can see, it's not super sharp up close. Looking at the PC on the 5050 UB, it's much brighter than it was on the 4010, but it's also more clear. This actually runs at 444 chroma RGB, and if you look at the icons, they are slightly sharper and the text is a bit sharper, but it's still not anywhere near how it is on the TV. One thing I did want to mention is if you turn on HDR, you will see that the display does get dim because of the 50% color loss. However, the 5050 has an option in the menu where you can actually change this. So the HDR setting, as you can see here, you can actually increase or decrease. So it's on 8. So you can make it dimmer and you can make it brighter. So 8 is the default it was at. And if you need a brighter image, as you can see, you can make it brighter. But you are going to clip highlights or crush. So 8 is the default, which in my opinion looks good. You can go a little higher if you want. 6 isn't bad. At 5, you're kind of losing some highlights there. So I would say 6 or 7 is about as high as you want to go, at least on the Windows desktop. Movies obviously will be different. All right, so to give you an idea, this is the same exposure as the projectors, and as you can see, the TV is very bright, and this is in HDR mode. Now, if we were to look at the text, you will see here that it is very, very sharp. So this is why I'm super curious to see how the LS11000 performs against this. Alright, so as you can see, or hopefully you could see, between the three devices, the 5050 does have better quality over the 4010, although it wasn't as significant as many people hyped it up to be. But as you can see, when it comes to HDR content, you lose 50% brightness. This is the case with the 4010 and the 5050, although you do have the HDR enhancement option where you can go from, 1 to 12. The TV obviously is sharper than them both, but that's where we're going to see where the LS11000 performs, because I'm super curious to see if the 4-way pixel shifting laser projector can beat these significantly, especially in the PC, because that's where the biggest difference you'll see is. In things like movies and stuff, you're not going to see the sharpness difference as much.